Why does one of Britain's newest political movements want to defund one of the country's most powerful institutions? The BBC is one of the most influential public broadcasters in the world, and a new political organisation, Restore Britain, has made defunding the BBC a core policy. In this video, we examine the case and the counter-case. A simple question sits at the heart of a fierce, growing debate. This is not a fringe argument. It's a serious proposal from a registered political party. Who is Restore Britain? Why target the BBC? What are the arguments for and against defunding? Beyond slogans, this debate touches fairness, liberty, and the role of the state, from movement to political party. Restore Britain began as a pressure group and formalized as a party, founded by Rupert Lowe. In one interview, Lowe called the BBC a cancer at the heart of Britain. In February 2026, the transition to a national political party was announced. Registration was confirmed on 4th March 2026. Membership claims surged from 50,000 to 100,000 within weeks. The message resonates with a substantial number of people. Policies include a smaller state, significant tax reductions, stricter immigration, and withdrawing public funding from the BBC. Framed as reclaiming control from institutions seen as powerful, unaccountable, and distant, the BBC, with guaranteed income and cultural influence, is offered as the prime example. Making defunding central draws a clear line about the kind of Britain they want. Supporters cast the BBC debate as a proxy for wider cultural and political divides. The party argues for more scrutiny of state-funded bodies and more individual choice over spending. The licence fee explained. The BBC is primarily funded by a mandatory television licence fee, a charge on UK households that watch or record live television on any channel or download or stream BBC programmes on iPlayer. Payment is required by law, regardless of how much you use the BBC. The system has existed in some form for decades and is set out in the Royal Charter. The cost is set by the government. From April 2026, the annual licence is £180. Visual how £180 is allocated across TV, radio and online. That's single payment funds, television channels, national and local radio, the website and iPlayer. In the year ending March 2025, it raised about £3.8 billion, around 65% of income. But households paying fell from over 90% to around 80% today. Enforcement is where controversy grows. Failure to pay is a criminal offence prosecuted in magistrates' courts. Conviction can bring a fine of up to $1,000. You cannot be imprisoned for evasion itself, but you can be jailed for not paying the court fine. There were 25,550 convictions in 2024. Restore Britain calls the system coercive, forcing citizens to fund a broadcaster they may not support. Critics call the licence a relic of limited media choice. Streaming giants run on voluntary subscriptions. Forcing a BBC fee feels unfair and anti-competitive, they argue. Backing the fee with the criminal justice system is the crux of their objection. Campaigners seek to dismantle the model. They frame it as coercion versus choice. Even if you only watch ad-funded live TV, a licence is still legally required. Critics call that absurd, like paying for a state-run paper because you bought the Times. They argue prosecutions hit the vulnerable hardest, criminalising poverty over a small debt. The narrative, institution versus individual, fuels calls to end the licence fee. The proposed remedy? Make the BBC earn its income in the open market. Beyond funding, the second line of attack is bias. Restore. Britain argues the broadcaster is no longer an impartial national institution. They say it reflects a narrow cultural and political worldview. Their materials claim the BBC is out of touch with many taxpayers' lives and values, a critique of institutional culture rather than isolated errors. News, comedy, and drama are said to share a progressive, metropolitan lens. Traditional perspectives feel dismissed. Criticism has come from across the spectrum for decades. The BBC cites complaints from all sides as evidence of impartiality. Groups like Restore Britain allege deeper systemic bias. They say it is embedded in hiring and editorial decision-making. Coverage of Brexit, immigration and climate is alleged to have marginalized opposing viewpoints. The result, they argue, alienation among those who feel unseen. Perception. The BBC speaks to a liberal elite, not the whole nation. Critics link bias to funding. Guaranteed income dilutes incentives to adapt. If it had to win subscribers, they'd expect broader appeal and stricter impartiality. Defunding is framed as reforming culture, not just saving money. Supporters of the BBC counter that it spans British culture widely, from proms to cutting-edge drama. The clash is over who defines British culture and how. Restore Britain says the BBC is on the wrong side. Defunding is the remedy. Supporters of reforming the organisation insist the BBC must challenge outdated attitudes, show true impartiality, and evolve. Criticism and defence coexist, and the question of impartiality remains central. The arguments coalesce around three themes: enhancing taxpayer choice, fostering market competition, and modernising British broadcasting. Proponents say people should freely decide what media they pay for. They envision the BBC persuading, not compelling, payment. A fair system in an age of abundant choice. They argue the licence insulates the BBC from healthy market pressure. With guaranteed billions, efficiency and responsiveness can slip. Competing for subscribers or ads would force innovation. The industry could be energized by broader competition. New players might enter. Everyone must raise their game. The license fee is seen as built for an analog era. In a digital, on-demand world, it feels archaic. A campaign report argues the model is unsustainable. Alternatives include full subscription, freemium mixes, or advertising. Together they form a coherent case for radical change. In this vision, the viewer is king and votes with their wallet. Government influence over media would be reduced. There are strong counter-arguments defending the BBC. Public service value, impartial news, investigations, education, ambitious drama, arts. The fee is framed as an investment in a shared civic space. Universal reach, one flat fee, services for all, regardless of wealth or postcode. Social glue, especially during national emergencies. 94% of adults still use BBC services weekly. The Charter Review seeks sustainable, future-proof funding. Even the BBC concedes the model must change. Options include broadening the levy or linking to council tax. Today, 23.8 million households pay. 3.8 billion supports a vast creative ecosystem. Defenders cite domestic trust and global reach. They argue for evolution, not dismantling. Commercial models can introduce new pressures, advertisers or ratings over neutrality. Risk: fewer regional commissions and less risky, uniquely British projects. These are practical hurdles any reform must address. Change is coming. The debate is how, not if. The emergence of Restore Britain has pushed this debate to the centre of national politics. The call taps questions of fairness, bias, and national identity. Legacy institutions face a transformed media landscape. Public service arguments remain compelling: universality, trust, and cultural glue. Critics warn a pure market risks a poorer, less equal media. The BBC itself concedes reform is needed and underway. Will change be radical, as Restore Britain demands, or managed evolution? The debate reflects larger questions about media, democracy, and public institutions in the digital age. The question is no longer whether the BBC should change, but how. Thanks for watching this video from Restore Clips. If you found this topic interesting, Like, subscribe, and let us know what you think in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the future of the BBC and what topics you'd like us to explore next. And if you'd like to support the channel while sipping something warm, check out our shop at restoresips.etsy.com. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.